Let's gather ourselves, bring ourselves fully here with the help of our breath or with the help and with the help of the next few minutes. Yes, thank you. So, invoking Mother's presence and grace and aspiring that, her words, which are not mere words, so the passages of the Sunlit path provide us with more and more expansion and simplicity. I'll share the screen. We are doing the Sunlit path. And last week, we had taken up two passages. One was outer discipline, and the other was true humility. And now, today, we have to go on someone who knows very little. So, since Meera and Monica, you were not there, we'll just go through their very small passages. We'll read them once, and then we'll take up the passage for today. So, if anybody is willing, they can please unmute and read outer discipline. Yes, Sujata, please.
Outer discipline. But doesn't some outer discipline help? If you impose a discipline upon yourself, and if it isn't too stupid, it may help you. A discipline, I tell you, disciplines, tapasyas, all ascetic disciplines are, as ordinarily practiced, the best means of making you proud, of building up in you such a terrific pride that never, never will you be converted. It will have to be broken down with hammer strokes. The first condition is a healthy humility which makes you realize that unless you are sustained, nourished, helped, enlightened, guided by the divine, you are nothing at all. There now, when you have felt that, not only understood it with your mind, but felt it down to your very body, then you will begin to be wise, but not before.
Thank you, Sujata. So again, very simple. If only we would understand that. I think that song, Monica, that you sometimes used to sing. About Maya, right? That wherever one goes, it's sitting, right? Yeah, jo man se na utre Maya kariye soy. So anything that I do, I sit on it, right? I become the king of it, and then that's another slippery slope for me. And I think this is what a true blow, a true challenge, a true wake up call, which feels harsh, does this to us, right? It makes us truly feel that I am nothing at all. Otherwise, no matter what the other side is, no matter how much joy comes, it feels like, mera joy, yeah, I did something or something is given to me. That me thing kind of stays mostly, but it's just that when is being stripped of so much that one thinks one was entitled to or should be given to one and is being not given or taken away, that one feels one is nothing at all, if not for the divine. Yes, please, anything before we move to the next one?
I think when we go through these bodily changes as we age, and not only just bodily changes as we age, but also uh, many diseases which are totally out of our control. I think that at least being a witness to that, or maybe oneself going through, I don't know, but at least witnessing such diseases where your whole personality is just shattered to pieces, which you may have been so, we may actually praise the person that, wow, such a disciplined person and, such integrity. And now with that illness, everything is just shattered to pieces. you know. So I think that is also brings a lot of humility that this is what is going to happen to us also. That whatever little we have, if not for the divine grace, we actually are nothing. So, as Mother says, that this has to be felt in the body, and I believe it has to be conscious. Just mere saying that I know won't work here. It has to become conscious for us that yes, you know, not even admitting it in front of everyone, but inward admission of that actually that is true. You know, uh, Now where is the discipline of that person who was so disciplined? Now totally things are out of his control. The personality has changed. So much of, like, for example, bodily cleanliness and the clothes and everything we take care of very prim and proper. Where is that? Totally out of control. So I think that for me it's a big kind of on the face it comes that we are actually nothing if not for the grace. And as long as the divine wants us to be in a certain manner, we are. As long as as soon as it changes, then we become that. So yeah.
On the same lines, practically, I've seen and I've shared that before, I don't know when, that whenever I say, okay, now I've got this, I'm unable to do it the next time. Small, small things. Sometimes when you say that, okay, okay, अब मुझे समझ आ गया. अच्छा ये ऐसे करते हैं, अब मुझे पता है. And bang, right? Next time I'm like just standing there confused that what is happening. So, like how, say, even Sarda ji the other time was sharing about something about concentration, how it feels different. As in anything, we sit, right? Okay, this much is mine, right? Like this is a given. And when it's taken even momentarily, then we realize that, oh, no, 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 it wasn't given. It was like, it was given. It wasn't mine to stand on. So again, it increases the gratitude and humility. And I even, like, I didn't see it last time, but today I saw the word wise. Then will begin to be wise. Like before that, there is intelligent, right? That you could be intelligent knowing that there's nothing at all. But once you feel that in your body, once you have felt that, not just understood it with your mind, then you become wise. And again, one must look at this in any prayer, usually any holistic prayer, they never ask for intelligence, right? They always ask for wisdom. It seems, it appears it's the same. But I guess somewhere it's like, intelligence is more of a worldly thing that I think I'm clever or I'm being clever. And wisdom is, I don't know, it seems more holistic, right? That which I don't even know what could be wise. And yet I'm asking for that. They don't, take away my intelligence and give me wisdom. That's a beautiful prayer.
So that basically, we will say when we pray to God, we say to give us buddhi. That is the main thing. That buddhi will lead us, give us the ability to do the right things as it should be done. No matter how intelligent we are, if we don't have the buddhi to do it, it doesn't make any difference at all.
Yeah. But I don't know. Yeah, it's just from where we are coming. I don't really know personally whether buddhi would be the thing for wisdom, but yeah, from where you are, the space from which you are saying it, it seems the same thing. But yeah.
I think basically, maybe just like we have this prayer, this one, Asato Ma Sat Gamaya, right? So all of us have heard that prayer. So basically, I think even if it's buddhi, uh, can it be more illumined, enlightened buddhi? क्योंकि उसमें भी gradations है ना? So there in this prayer, like Asato Ma Sadgamaya, from falsehood take me to the truth. Then Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya. So darkness of tamas, and I think that day Sri Aurobindo, some words of Sri Aurobindo where he was describing the difference of tamas and laziness, that there is a difference between tamas and laziness. Anyway, not going there, but yet from darkness to light. So then everything, each part of the cell, buddhi, everything can, mind, vital, everything can have that light. So that the since you were talking of prayer. And then of course towards immortality. Yeah. So light in every part of our being, whether it's manas, buddhi, chit, ahankar, whatever it is, it should not be in darkness, because whatever remains in darkness pulls us down. So nothing can be left in darkness, because as long as it stays, it will just keep on doing its work, which is like pulling down, pulling down. And Sri Aurobindo talks about descent. Like first there has to be an ascent in the being, like you ask. And as I was wondering on this, and suddenly how in farms we have this land, and when the land is very dry, parched, then if we have seen, it becomes cracked, and the cracks they kind of rise up. If you have seen, like they a little kind of rise up because of that dryness. So I was thinking that maybe, that can be linked to the aspiration, that so much of thirst is there, hunger is there. So it kind of calls for the descent, and then rain comes as a descent and goes into each part and, particle of that dried up land. So same with our being, that we first, as Mother says, Sri Aurobindo says, the aspiration has to be there, so something in us aspire, and then slowly the whole being, each part of the being can aspire, goes up. And then without the descent, nothing happens. So the descent is like rain. And that rain has to go in each part of the being, the mind, the vital, the lower consciousness, the middle consciousness, whatever, all the gradations have to be moistened by that descent, so that there is light everywhere, and no darkness remains anywhere. Yeah, so I just kind of took a detour, but yeah, this was coming to me.
While you were sharing, this word like take me, it gives a false appearance that I have to go somewhere, right? Like take me. And yet, like say, take me from untruth to truth, where it says the false to the true. And I see that the biggest falseness is within me, right? Like I am so full of darkness, so full of falsehood that, of course, there would be an outer component too, but this prayer is mostly from, that shift that you were saying, that may all, those lines in Sabitri where she says that I don't bow to the God who slays, right? I pray to the God who saves. So that shift, right? That now my being, every cell is not run by darkness. They show it the light, show it the light. Beautiful, yeah. Thank you for reminding us. Yeah, anything before we move to the next one? So this was just, you're doing a recap from last week. So we'll go to the next one. Again, a very small passage that we have taken. So how Mother had spoken about humility, in the last one. So now she's defining what true humility is. If anybody wants to unmute and read it for us, otherwise I'll go.
I'll read. Sorry, but I can see. So, can you make it bigger, or is it just my eyesight? Oh, okay. It's better now. Sorry. True humility. What is the right and the wrong way of being humble? It is very simple. When people are told, be humble, they think immediately of being humble before other men. And that humility is wrong. True humility is humility before the divine. That is, a precise, exact living sense that one is nothing. One can do nothing, understand nothing without the divine. And even if one is exceptionally intelligent and capable, that is nothing in comparison with the divine consciousness. And this sense one must always keep, because then one always has true attitude of receptivity, a humble receptivity that does not put personal pretensions in opposition to the divine.
Yes, thank you, Jasmine. Any reflections are welcome. When we are reading it, it sounds so obvious, right? That, yeah, like, why will we think that our intelligence is above? Or I actually understand something, but we do. So I think it's really good to be humbled into reading about humility again. So here, when they say that, when we are told to be humble, we think it is to be humble before other men. Maybe they are asking us to be more polite, more, I don't know, doing more GG, more bending our heads. And yet, true humility, that's good, but true humility is humility before the divine. That is a precise, exact, living sense that one is nothing, one can do nothing, understand nothing without the divine. And even if one is exceptionally intelligent and capable, that is nothing in comparison with the divine consciousness. And it really ties up with that quote of Rumi, and I'm so many others, of course, have spoken the same thing, that the further I go, the more I realize how far I am. Because sitting here in my walls and darkness, I don't even see the extent of me, the infinity that I am. But the more I touch the space of that expansiveness, I realize that, oh my God, what am I if not for him? Or just that I am so small. Like, again, that's a humble smallness because that light is within me. So a humble receptivity that does not put personal pretensions in opposition. Yes, anything? Okay. So these were from last time. These were the two passages that we had taken up. So now we'll take up someone who knows very little. So our first passage for today's circle. And just requesting anybody if they would be willing to unmute and read.
Yeah.
Hi, Taru. I just wanted to kind of go over true humility. I thought
Yes,
we'll discuss more. Because I like the way I read it is how you bring it to your daily life, And like, um, so even though true humility, it says like it's being humble before God, but the way I read it is how do we bring it to daily life and what the challenge there is. I wanted to take the discussion there. Um, so if you can shed something more on that. Or Monica. Because I have a very silly thing, I remember, I don't know, whatever time, somewhere in the past, and I was, reading these scriptures and, being humble and all that. And it didn't and like, almost like, I think in one of the sessions, like how Monica said, okay, universe has allowed it. Who are you, arrogant, to say, it's not happening, something like that. And I remember in that moment, I'm like, why I can't be kind or humble? I didn't feel all that, And then I imagined, I within me, like I'm being humble, I'm surrendering to the universe, to the divine consciousness. It's not about what's happening in that incident right now. But it wasn't so much about the incident, but what it was about my own personal journey, like what I was feeling and which state I was in. Am I making sense or no? Mm. Like when we are having interaction with people in our daily life, we always because you get to, a part of me was like कि तुम humble बन जाओ, बेवकूफ बन जाओ, दूसरा बंदा तुम्हारे पे चढ़ी जा रहा है, in that sense. You know what I mean? So in that interaction, what I feel is what arose in me wasn't very in line with what I wanted myself to be, my behavior or my growth, not in terms of judgment, but what I wanted to um, grow or work towards my growth. Um, so just saying the little thing, I remember thinking that something shifted. Nahi, this is for me. So in my mind, it felt like I surrendered to divine, as in like I'm not so religious in the sense, but in my sense that I surrendered to the universe, and then I softened up a little bit in my body and mind. And then it was easier for me to deal with whatever the outside situation was. But humility in general in daily practice is considered, um, not considered, it's not valued as much. I think the basic instinct of survival, or, somebody will walk over me, and, that kicks in more. So sorry, I wanted to kind of talk more about this. Like, if you can do a little bit more discussion about your incidents or in general. Because for me, if it doesn't bring in my daily life, um, then I don't know. I feel it's not integrated in my daily life, then I'm just reading it.
Yeah, it took me some time to understand what you just shared, but yeah, now I think I've understood what you're sharing. So I think we are confusing two things, maybe. What you just shared, that I should not allow anyone to walk over me, like, and one is being humble. And humility here, what Mother is talking, what appears to me is not that if you're humble, you would allow people to walk over you. I think that's not the humility. Like, for example, think about it. Imagine there is no harm. We all keep on imagining so many worst possible things. So let's imagine this. Right now, what I'm going to say might sound a little bit radical. That's why I'm giving the disclaimer. So right now, suddenly something happens and we are just debilitated, not able to move, not able to speak, not able to do the normal regular function, elimination, digestion, whatever. Everything goes kaput. Think about it. And then you realize that, oh, you thought your health was because of this discipline. Or you thought that you were so big and proud and whatever because of your achievement. And suddenly all is gone. Where are your achievements? Now where is your health? Where is your discipline? You're just a helpless creature. So I think what Mother right now, the passage that you were reading is regarding that we are nothing without that divine presence within us. Whatever in us is happening because of that divine presence, the divine grace, Shakti. And without that, we are actually nothing. It's like a fact. If we see, it's a fact. It's not even that we are imagining things. And while what you were sharing is being, say, for example, polite and maybe appearing something else and feeling and thinking something different, that would be, I would think that would go in the category of non-transparency or maybe hypocrisy. But I think there is a difference. We can't confuse these two. And Bhagat Singh, for example, may be truly humble, but Bhagat Singh did not allow the Britishers to walk over him. So that right intuitive sense of action comes when one is connected with him. But he also knows that मुझे भी मिट्टी में मिल जाना है. तो मेरा क्या अस्तित्व है? I'm nothing. So nothing. I can give myself away and doesn't matter. For the right cause, I can give myself away. So yeah, I would go there. Please continue, Jasmine.
No, that's you're right. Those are the two things that, in a way, in my own experience, I'm kind of separating it. But my focus is on the inner one. What I'm saying is cultivating that humility within. Again, it's not about the outer. They'll walk over me, या वो कर लेंगे. But cultivating that humility within. When I go within, I find those, what you can say, not demons, but I find that कि अंदर ही काम करने वाला है. That's the thing. It's never about, even when I say somebody's walking over, if I flip back to my inner this thing, I see that something here needs to be inside me, needs to be worked on. So in that sense, I said that I felt that it was my ego. It wasn't even about whether the person is going to do, not do is the second step. But in my ego was coming out. कि मैं इसके आगे क्यों झुकूं? I mean, I'm just talking about like maybe a petty incident. It's not about the incident. कि मैं इसके आगे, but I'm saying within me, that ego rises, which says मैं, right? Which the I comes in that sense. So in that sense, चलो incident भी चला गया, but that's within me, that I, that ego, that like how Thich Nhat Hanh says there are seeds inside you, and which seed you feed. So in terms of that living, I'm talking about within me, like how I live and how what I feed in my mind and consciousness in that sense. So I was saying if you can share, I love the paragraph. I was thinking if you can talk more about humility or your experience in that sense, because that helps me kind of it's like I'm getting more feedback. So to reflect, that's all. Mm. No, but it is enough. It doesn't mean I'm asking, but I'm just saying if something comes up. To me, it was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, Jasmine, shortly reflecting, just as the paragraph says that when I hear that be humble, uh, is there some issue with this? Monica, you can't hear
No,
me?
I can hear you. I
No,
can
I
hear
can
you.
hear, I can hear you, but there's something wrong here. So please go on. Sorry to
Okay.
bother. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I hear that be humble, how it says that I pick it up as a doer, right? Because that's how everything is how I pick it up. अच्छा ये करना है मैं करता हूँ अच्छा मैं दिखाऊंगा कि हम्बल कैसे बनते हैं है ना देखना मैं सबसे अच्छा हम्बल बन जाऊंगा
Yeah,
that's how I
that's
do
true.
it.
The humble brag,
Yeah. तो
Yeah.
just that कि उसमें again exactly how you said it's the ego who picks it up and he says कि मैं सबसे अच्छा झुक के दिखाऊंगा अब देखना
Mm,
and then these thought comes कि इतना अच्छा झुक रहा हूँ देखो फिर भी लोग मुझे ऐसा बोल रहे हैं इतना
mm,
अच्छा वो कर रहा हूँ right I'm bending so low and I'm supposed to be picked up but still I am bended only what is this happening what is not fair people are not fair because I picked it up as a chore and I'm doing it, right? It's a doership. And that's exactly what they were saying in the passage that that's not true humility. You do it, that's great.
mm.
Or don't do it. But the true humility is when one knows, like, it's not a understanding. It's not, again, when we're talking about intelligence or wisdom, it's not कि मैं कह रहा हूँ कि मैं झुक रहा हूँ इसमें ये है कि मैं कह रहा हूँ कि मैं कुछ हूं नहीं उस शक्ति के बिना
Yeah,
तो
that's
जस्ट
what.
दैट शिफ्ट तो उसमें वो डूअरशिप वो मैं ये हो रहा है दिस दैट इज नॉट देयर इज योर होल बीइंग which now knows that I'm not just saying this I know I'm nothing and as Monica gave that example when we
Mm,
are actually especially having some crisis right like mental or physical just
mm,
earache toothache anything small thing the way we kind of act right कि हो क्या रहा है मैं करूं क्या so then one realizes कि, oh God, like so much grace, a non-eventful, nice day, a healthy day is in itself a blessing. But I keep sitting and, kind of seeing my lack and complaining about 10 different things. So just the center of operation here is very different from trying to be and then knowing that I am nothing. So
that hit the spot. Thank you. Yeah.
yeah, and thank you, Arpit, for sharing. So the lines from Savitri that I was trying to refer to, he has mentioned. Arpit, would you like to speak about that a bit? Uh, if you would like.
No, I don't have anything to say about that.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So it was just that it's a debate of love and death. So it says, O death, thou speakest truth, but truth that slays, I answer thee with the truth that saves. So just some way, who am I bending in front of? So if there's anything else, please unmute and share and we'll go to the next. Huh? Yeah, Meera, you had wanted to keep read it first. Thank you.
Yes. I'll start. It is not necessarily someone with experience who is most advanced. He lacks an element of simplicity, modesty, and the plasticity that comes from the fact that one is not yet totally developed in the head. It gets more and more fixed by becoming fossil. This is what usually happens to people, particularly those who have tried for some realization and succeeded in it, or those who have come to believe that they have reached the goal. In any case, it was their personal goal. They have reached it, they have attained. It is done. They remain there. They settle there. Can you scroll? They say that live 10 years more or 20 or 30, they they still stay there. Such people lack all the fullness of space for going further and progressing. They are they are very good objects to be put in a museum, but not for doing work. They are samples to show what can be done, but they are not the stuff to do more. For me personally, I admit I prefer for my work someone who knows very little, has not labored too much, but who has a great deal of aspiration, a great goodwill, and who feels in himself this flame, this need for progressing. He may know very little, may have realized still less, but if he has that within him, it is good stuff with which one can go very far, much further.
Thank you, Meera.
So one thing that Yeah. So one thing that came to me reading the first few lines was that something was happening recently, and there was this one particular piece of work that I've been doing for more than 3 years now, right? And then there was another opportunity that came up in a similar profile. So something in me was saying, I don't have to prepare for it. I've done this so many times. What more are they going to ask? And all that. And something in me knew that, that attitude wasn't right. But again, there was like a conflict between the two sides, and of course, I didn't prepare for it well, and then I went and sat there, and it was such a reality check. Like I didn't know like even the basic concepts, and then it took a day or two for me to realize, as what mother was saying here, that when you start doing the same thing too many times, or you feel as if that you've done it so many times, as if you have reached like a particular level, and then you stop growing from there. But that gave me like that realization that I actually know nothing, and even if I do, then it's really only for me to go further, and that shouldn't stop there. So after that, there was another opportunity came similarly. Then what I did was I started from scratch. I read everything as if I didn't know anything, and that really really helped. And the second time the experience was smooth. But I mean, more than what happens outside, I think the change inward was something very important, and that's what mother says, as something crystallizes and that has to be broken all the time. I mean, outer circumstances will break it, but I think if it doesn't break, then we ourselves has to go collapse the comfort zone, do something new.
Yes, thank you, Meera. It's kind of coming again towards what we always kind of end up with, that empty your cup, right? Like if I'm already all full, if I'm already that I know, where will grace come? Where will the light come when I already know? And that's what my answer is mostly, right? I know this person, I know this thing, I know this text, I know this mantra, I know. So Yeah, so when you shared that you started from scratch, that's what it felt like, that okay, I don't know, let me see how to do this. So anybody who would want to share more on this passage, someone who knows very little. I think it kind of breaks a lot of images that we have about who's more deserving, who's kind of, I don't know, where one is related to, especially say if we talk about the path, who's a sincere seeker, who's more advanced. So it does break some myths also. Yeah, welcoming comments, reflect.
Yeah, there's another thing that's coming to me is what I was observing, like in the past week, there was a meeting with few people, and there's someone who knows very little. I mean, it applies even to suffering, is what I realized. For example, someone was recounting, oh, I have suffered so much. I know how suffering feels like, oh, this, oh, that. And it was all like, I don't want to know how much you've suffered. And that itself became like such a big topic that they knew so much about suffering. I mean, yeah, I mean, like either we go on the other end and say I'm extremely knowledgeable and I know intellectually everything, or the other way, like I have suffered so much, and that in itself becomes like such a big power. And it was very funny.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. It's good when it's happening in front so that one can look within and see when am I saying the same thing in different words, maybe. So I'll just read the passage again. If there's anything, please unmute at any time. It is not necessarily someone with experience who is most advanced. He lacks an element of simplicity, modesty, and the plasticity that comes from the fact that one is not yet totally developed. As one grows, something crystallizes in the head. It gets more and more fixed, and unless you try very hard, you finish by becoming fossilized. When one is reading, say when I'm reading this or hearing this, it doesn't feel this is true for me, right? Like I refuse to accept that, this sounds like such a mechanical phenomena of crystallization and fossilization. And yet, if I'm honest, I see there are so many. ये तो ऐसा ही होना चाहिए. This has to be that way. Oh, I know. Oh no, this is the right way, that is the wrong way. I have opinions, very strong opinions and beliefs about everything. And we say and hear it often that after a certain age, we say, okay, you don't even say anything to them. They would not be able to change, right? Now they are set in their ways. I've even heard, and it's sad, but I've even, from actually my own father, he had mentioned that, it's really good for girls or people in general to get married at a younger age, because then you're not set in your ways. You're able to adapt to the new family, the new roles, and it helps in overall, the role that you have to play. Since you have to play that role, if you have to play that role, it's better to get married, say in the early 20s and all, when one is very supple, one can quickly adjust it. Okay, this, sure, I'll do it that way. So even in a everyday, that thing is accepted. What mother is, first talking about. So this is what usually happens to people, particularly those who have tried for some realization and succeeded in it, or those who have come to believe they have reached the goal. In any case, it was their personal goal. They have reached it, they have attained. It is done. They remain there. They settle there. They say that's it. And they do no more anymore. So after that, they may live 10 years or 20 or 30. They will not budge. They are there. They will stay there. Such people lack all the suppleness of stuff that's necessary for good further, for going further and progressing. You know, I don't know, one must read it as not people, but like, saying that I, again, like, where am I stuck? What do I take as givens that would help me in maybe unstucking somewhere? So they are very good objects to be put in museum. Love mother's sense of humor, but maybe she means, but not for doing work. They are like samples to show what can be done, but they are not the stuff to do more. So again, we can take, see where all one can get stuck. If there's somebody who's very strongly here, how mother is describing it, and we all do, I'm sure, have such examples, including, of course, how I was saying, a lot inside us too. So for me personally, she says, I admit I prefer for my work someone who knows very little, has not labored too much, but who has great deal of aspiration, a great goodwill, and who feels in himself this flame, this need for progressing. He may know very little, may have realized still less, but if he has that within him, the aspiration, goodwill, this need for progress, so if he has that within him, it is good stuff with which one can go very far, much further. Yeah, I think.
Hey,
Yes,
so
yeah.
anybody speaking?
No, Arpit, you please go ahead.
Yeah, so this one, I think that like this reminds me of what Mother was saying in the agenda about Satprem's guru, the Tantric guru. And he was, like guiding Satprem on his path, and he knew all the inner realities and the occult realities of Tantric, the layers of different beings and the subtle physical and all that. But he had kind of got that structure in his mind, which was like Mother said, it's like a square, like a cube. And it goes to a certain extent. But then if you have to go to the next kind of level or integration, then it would have to be broken apart. And that would be kind of like a thrashing. So she didn't want to do that. She said that it's better for him to just leave him alone, because he's kind of reached that point in his evolution. And this guy is the tantric guru. He's like, he knows much more than like anybody else. So, but Mother said that even he doesn't really, even his structure is crystallized. And obviously, like when you're looking into tantric stuff, then it's all about formations that can be you can give it, you can do it in your own way. You can create these formations in your own way, or you can create it in your own sort of particularities, like how you deal with different forms, and that can invoke different realities behind the scenes, which can then materialize and manifest and change the outer reality and all that sort of stuff. But everybody has their own way of doing it. Everybody has their own sort of way of looking into it. But there's all sorts of different ways of doing the same thing. But then again, like, if you want to break that, then you must have something. You must have some faith or something. Otherwise, you'll end up in like a no man's land. That can be the danger of breaking through that kind of a structure that you've created. I just think, yeah, that's what I think. And then this line from Savitri, yeah, I was thinking about this. So it says, like this one, the debate of love and death. Oh, death, thou speakest truth, but truth that slays. I answer to thee with the truth that saves. So this is the thing here, is that death is actually speaking the truth, but a selection of truth at a particular level, which is true, but it's still a selection with all not really it's a limitation of that. It is true that death will slay, but there is a higher truth than that as well, and for that is that's what Savitri is challenging death with, because like it is true what death is saying is like absolutely true, that you live for a certain time, and then love only survives because you love somebody, but where does it go? Where does anything go? And Satyavan is safe with me now. He's resting in this. Otherwise, what's this? What are you doing over here? And all this and all that. But then it's kind of true. But this is the thing about it, is that it's always that these negative forces are always using something true. They're not absolutely false, and that's always the problem, is that that's how you get deluded, because there's always an element of truth in these things.
Yes, Arpit, thank you. There is an element of truth, you're right. And yet, when one is listening to that, or if one was reading the debate that we are referring to, or whenever we have to limit ourselves or accept something which does not feel okay, there's something that feels shrinking, right? Yes, it makes sense. And yet I don't feel expanded, right? Like something feels wrong, and one sees why, right? Because how she just changed it, right? That no matter what you're saying could be true, it is true. But if the truth is killing me, right? If it's killing people, or if it's not serving the right purpose, I know I'm not answering to that. I know I'm answering to the truth that would save. And it takes a lot of faith and courage and absolute simplicity to maintain your grasp towards the light when death is standing in front of you and saying that, Arey, these are such logically concluded things happening for eons. हम लोग on a daily basis, so many things that we do, or that we even tell our children, a lot of them have this thing कि अरे ये ऐसे ही तो होता है. That's how we do it. We don't have to question. We don't have to question. That's how the world works. So it's a very good thing that to realize that why am I doing this? Why does the world work that way? And if it does, good for the world. But do I have to stand here and believe? This questioning that if everybody is doing it, I should do it, or that ऐसा ही होता है. It's a very good pause that we at times get in our lives if we are fortunate to stand and choose that no, it sounds logical, it's been generational, and yet I don't want to do it. And that's when the shift happens. Something new can happen. Yeah. Yeah, any last comment, any reflections on the passage or anything else based on our discussion? Yes, Jasmine.
Oh, by mistake. Yeah, Monica, anything, any last comment before we end?
I think nothing really to add on. Just it would be just a repetition, whatever I say. So good, all good.
Okay, so I think then we can end here. And if possible, trying to offer our images, we can offer our images of what is and what isn't. And we aspire for that humbleness that Mother was talking about. And, it would be so beautiful to be where Mother is saying with a great deal of aspiration. That yes, I want, but what do I really want? What is my priority? What is my true aspiration? The great goodwill. And then saying that life cannot be this small. Life cannot just be these roles that I am stuck with that feels like the goal of life. So aspiring, cultivating goodwill, seeing this need for progress, and knowing very little. So that's who Mother is looking for, and who has the capacity that can go way further. So thank you for joining in. So praying that all of us can, and everybody can have this simplicity, this aspiration, this need for progress, and one and all can be truly humble in the right sense that Mother just shed light. So thanking Grace for the opportunity of having this company for reflection, and for the beautiful words that spread more and more light and simplicity. So thank you for joining in, and have a good weekend.
Thank you for a very nice study session.
Thank you.